Evening all, welcome to Sports Unplugged. It's me, Chris Brack, Kev O'Sullivan, Luke Tanner, and Oscar's back from All Leeds TV. We haven't had Oscar for ages. How you doing, Oscar?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good. I think it's been like all downhill for Leeds since the last game on the show. Was it last season?
You leave the Trippers, mate. It all goes downhill.
I know.
Should just stay on the Trippers, you know. So you look, Laura Duffy's already made up that you're on the show. See, so what more can you want?
There you go. Good to be back.
Luke, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanhanks. Not too bad.
Jolly good. You look enthused as ever, Luke.
It's just a long day at work.
I know. Mr. O'Sullivan, how are we?
Not too bad. I mean, for the week that's in it, it's been a flat-out week with loads of transfers and everything, come-ins and goings. But today, the reality hit with Sadio leaving. And, he's probably the first of the superstars to go. I mean, Genie went, but I wouldn't say he was a superstar. Lallana was, at the start of the era, was a key player at the start. But Sadio's been there, done it all, So to see him at 30 years of age deciding that he wants to go and try something new, it hurts a bit, but at the same time, he's won football with us. Every trophy that he could have won with Liverpool, he's won. He's had a hand in almost all of them, and he's been an exceptional signing. For the deal that we got for him, with a player who wanted to leave with 12 months left, I think we've got a really good. I think we've done okay out of it. I think Julian Ward has done as well as he could have done. Yeah, and with the best, I'll be watching Bayern next season, hoping that he has an absolute banger. I hope he just goes and rips up the Bundesliga and just goes on and has a really great career. I wish him all the best, but it will be missed, big time missed, and he's leaving big shoes to be filled.
Yeah, I mean, Jake says feels like the end of an era, which it does a little bit, and Laura Duffy, right as always. Sadio was like the real start of the Klopp era. He was, because he was the first player who had that pace. Do you remember that goal? The first goal he scores against Arsenal, he went,
"Yeah,
Jesus Christ, what's it like?"
Chops inside with his left foot and then just bends it in the top corner. Oh.
Yeah. Red Steve wants to know: is this blue versus black? If it was, me and Oscar would smash him. So we're not doing that. So there's no question. I love the fact we're very uniform, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're like Inter Milan, aren't we? We're the Inter Milan team today. But look, Luke, how are you feeling about it?
It is an end of an era. He was like the first big signing that came in with that Klopp era, and he's left a legend. He's probably one of the best players I've seen in my lifetime watching Liverpool. I think he has left at the right time. I do feel like that his legs were going a little bit. That's why I feel like he moved into the middle. And the fact he's going to the Bundesliga means it's a bit of a slower league, and it will prolong his career a bit longer. I feel like if he would have stayed another year, I think you would have seen another drop off. And I think it's better to leave the hero rather than stay long enough to become the villain. So I think it's sort of the best time for him to...
It's hard to see sometimes a great player you've had decline. I mean, I thought when he moved to number 9, I wondered if that was the way of reinvigorating him. Because to be fair, he played very well. Yeah. I thought it was number 9. But Oscar, from obviously non-Liverpool fan, what's your sort of seeing of the situation? Because look, us three could be very much Liverpool bubble. It's hard not to be. So, but how are you seeing it from like an outsider looking in?
Yeah, I just want to start on Mane. I genuinely think he's one of the most underrated players in Premier League history, to be honest with you. In terms of, you look at his record, what he's won, the difference he's made to Liverpool and Southampton, if we need to add as well. He was very, very good for those 2 years at Southampton. He's been a very excellent player for Premier League football. Certainly one of the best African players in kind of the Premier League era, I'd say. So, yeah, it's an interesting one because I think there was a little decline, to be honest. I think the last couple of years has been, the level he was at kind of 2018, 2019, 2020 time. I think he was one of the best wingers in the world, wide forwards in world football, in all honesty. And there was a little bit of a decline in terms of he was less able to beat a man just with pure pace and power. But the switch to centre forward, I thought, was getting another level out of him. I thought he was playing absolutely superbly at centre forward, and I think the fact that he got in the team of the year in that kind of unusual role kind of sums it up for me. The goals he was scoring, obviously, the goals started to dry up a little bit for Salah in the second bit of the season, but Mane was getting a lot of crucial goals during that second bit of the season that got Liverpool back into the title race. It obviously got Liverpool to the Champions League final. He was a big part of it this season. I think at Bayern, I think that's a good move for him in terms of getting goals and somewhat a team that's going to be built to his strengths. In terms of nowadays, in terms of he's lost that little bit of pace, he's going to have to come to the ball a lot more than kind of like trying to run in behind defenders. And I think obviously at Bayern, he's replacing Lewandowski. I know he's a different kind of player to Lewandowski, but it's an interesting one. I think he'll get a lot more chances at Bayern because everything will be built around him, like it is at Bayern. They build everything around the striker. Lewandowski gets chance after chance after chance. I'm not saying that he doesn't at Liverpool, but I think the way the Bundesliga defends as well, I think it's the old Bundesliga tax and all this lot. I can see Mane going there and absolutely ripping it up, to be honest, in that kind of respect. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Liverpool, I've got to evolve now because I think when you could go to replace Mane, there's no real player in world football I can think of who's like Mane, who can play on the left. In fact, he started out as a right winger, on that right-hand side for Liverpool, just basically be a touchline winger almost. And then obviously it translates into a left-sided forward when Salah comes in and then into a centre forward. You don't see that a lot in world football these days, especially for a forward being that versatile. So I don't think you could ever replace him, like for like in that kind of respect. Certainly not. There's no real player anywhere near as good as Mane who can do that for me. So I think the backup, the replacement even is very good in Nunez. I think he's a really good replacement. But he's going to be different to Mane in terms of what he offers.
Maybe that's why we bought two in the end. Diaz to replace what was Mane the winger, and Nunez to replace what was becoming Mane the number 9, because there probably isn't one player to replace him. So we have to find a way around him. MC said he's absolutely devastated about Sadio. I know the feeling. Do you think he's our best left-sided player we've ever had? I would say in the Premier.
In the Premier, yeah.
It's always the last 30 years. I think luckily Gav's not on the show, otherwise he'd be stringing me up. Now, there is a certain Mr. John Barnes, which does have to get a mention. But listen, if you're getting yourself in a conversation with John Barnes as he's in the conversation about it, then,
I think he's a better winger. I think he's better on the left than Barnes was. Barnes was excellent, top tier. And as he got older, he dropped back into midfield, and he could do that role equally as good. I think Sadio's better. I genuinely do. I think the way football has evolved, he's quicker. He's a better goal threat. I think he's just different. Oscar was dead right in what he was saying. He's next to impossible to replace because he's almost unique in what he offers, and the versatility that he offers means that other people got minutes in their best positions, and he accommodated his game around them. Jota was one, so he's got to be a huge miss. And Chris, you were dead on what you're saying. We've had to spend two players to replace what he offers. Don't get me wrong, they're two really top players. And you look at the business that we've done so far this window with Ramsey coming in. We've made 3 signings, and the oldest one of the signings is 22.
Which shows it's a sign that Liverpool are to us, I think the evolution of Liverpool has been probably started 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it's just slowly creeping in. But it is hard when it's one of the mainstays, one of the first lads. It is hard to see them go. But they've gone, and I'm sort of thinking fairly amicable. There was a little bit of silliness out there, but look, that's the game. But in general, it seems to have gone on right terms for Liverpool, right terms for the player. Liverpool could have been really stubborn and tried to stick out for more, but I think people forget.
I think
we got Thiago for 20 million with 1 year contract.
So scratch your back, scratch ours.
So it's not that, but it's just like, we've done it, so other clubs are going to do it. Jake wants to know, Kev already knows my feelings on this. What do you guys think of Nagelsmann? So, what do you think about him, Oscar?
I think Nagelsmann, for me,
is a bella.
Underachieved last season.
I can't hold back. I just can't stand him. I just
Oh,
can't.
really?
Yeah.
He does think to himself as a hipster, doesn't he? Let's be honest, in terms of that dress sense and that. Like, I'm not. He underachieved for me. As simple as that. I mean, to get knocked out of the Champions League by Villarreal, I think they got hammered in the German Cup as well. I think they did. Who was it? Much in Gladbach, was it? I think.
Yeah, I think it was
like 6. I think, and then even the not the Premier League, sorry, the Bundesliga. I think they won it in spite of themselves. Really, I think Dortmund completely messed up. Haaland got a massive injury. I don't think he's done that well, to be honest with you. I don't think he's done that well. I don't think he's proven himself in Germany enough to say that he could get a job at a top 6 club in the Premier League, to be totally honest with you. Certainly not, a Liverpool in the future or someone like that. It's been little mentions, hasn't there, in that lot. But no, not for me. He's certainly, I rated him a lot more prior to him going to Bayern than I do now, to be honest. I still think he's a good manager, but I don't know.
Apparently, the comment was actually, do you think Nagelsmann will get the most out of Mane? But apparently the comment got cut short. Maybe. I mean, look, if you can't get the best out of Sadio Mane, probably proves more of my point. But my point is, I think he is a talented manager. He's just an absolute prat of a person. And ever since the Hoffenheim, I saw his antics at Hoffenheim. He's just got a face. He's got a face you want to punch. But maybe that's just me. He just seems to be a person I've took an instant dislike to, and I can't.
It'd be interesting how he plays Sadio and how Bayern evolve over the next couple of years. Bayern still have problems. They have problems at the back. They have.
If he's smart, he plays him through the middle with like a Sané and Gnabry either side.
That front three,
bit Liverpool-esque, 3 really fast converted wingers. Just go for it.
It's how they accommodate Thomas Muller into that side and what they do around the midfield for me. Look,
they've just sold the best midfielder to us, Kev.
And
we'll come to that.
We'll come to that. Actually, look, I mean, the way Bayern are going to be judged is how they do in Europe. All right. And we've seen losing to Villarreal. I watched the games and they battered Villarreal, battered them senseless and couldn't score. They did everything but score in the 2 legs and they got sucker punched in both games. It was naive attacking.
He tried to overthink it in the second leg.
He tried to be too clever.
He tried to be too clever, especially in the second leg.
He pepped it,
he pepped it.
He had Sane at left wing back, I think, and then he had
Sane and Coman as like wing backs.
Yeah,
and then they had like 3 centre halves, and
Alphonso Davies was
all out attack.
I think Alphonso Davies came on at centre mid for a bit. You're like, what?
No, he played as part of a back 3 at the end.
Yeah, because Alphonso Davies screens centre back.
I mean, you wouldn't even do it on FIFA. You just wouldn't.
He just strikes me as one of them managers that he's going to make a big change. He's got to do something really big like that, and he's a bit. Pep does it, but it kind of works most of the time. And when it doesn't work, it's a big story. But with Nagelsmann, it kind of most of the time doesn't work. You get battered or they lose embarrassingly.
Luke,
I think he'll be in trouble next season.
Luke,
I think he could be in trouble.
Oscar, do you think we're just saying he's the German Brendan Rodgers then? That's basically what he is.
Brendan Rodgers has actually won something meaningful with Leicester, like a league. What was it? The FA Cup and that lot.
More of it. He needs to make a big statement, a big movement.
No, I know what you mean. He's better at a club, a lesser club, than he is at a big club. I think when he goes to a big club, like Rodgers found at Liverpool, the expectation you can't really go and use. It's like a science project almost kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like he treated it as a science project at Leipzig and like Rodgers did at Swansea and all this lot. But you kind of can't do that when you get to Liverpool or you Bayern Munich. It's going to be hard for him, next season. Assuming Dortmund
he's still rebuilding as well. Like he's going to have to reshape that attack. Going to have to reshape that defense because that defense, Upamecano has not been a great signing. It's been all right. It's not been great at all. And I think he needs to rejig the midfield. But
they still 2 players, Upamecano and Sabitzer, and they both played under Nagelsmann. So for them to fail under
Sabitzer got up for sale this summer as well.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. And it just shows maybe the pressure has got to them kind of thing. And obviously Lewandowski going, I think that's a big lot. I know obviously as much as Mane is a good signing, but Lewandowski, you think of, I don't know enough about German football to say, but I'd imagine it's probably one of the best players in German football history, possibly the best. You know, if you look at his whole record over the last
in
9
recent
years.
years, yeah. In recent years, yes.
It's not quite the same, but it's like when Messi left Barcelona, there is going to be an effect on that. You know, in terms of you've got a player who's been so key for Dortmund and Bayern over the years. That's a massive loss for Bayern in that kind of respect. And if you're Bayern Munich fans, you're probably asking the question that, yes, Mane is a really good signing, but they kind of replaced Lewandowski with someone who's only a couple of years younger. It's still quite an old team kind of thing. So that is long term, you know, maybe Dortmund can close that gap, and I hope they do, to be honest, because I'm not a massive lover of Bayern Munich for various reasons.
So you're after pinching one of their young up-and-coming prospects from midfield today, Marc Roca. What do you know about him?
Yeah, I like it.
What's there to expect for the league? You know, what is he going to start for Leeds more? You know,
yeah,
or is he just an addition to the squad?
I'd imagine he starts for us. I think again, it's been 2 years since I've seen him properly play. You know, I love my Spanish football, but I remember seeing him in the big games for Espanyol, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid. He was holding his own kind of thing. And reading up on him at the time, he was being linked before he went to Bayern with Arsenal, I think Leicester, I think Barcelona in the summer of 2020. He was playing really, really well. And in those games I've seen him playing really, really well. So he's a strange kind of case in that kind of respect. He's not played a lot in the last 2 years, but reading between the lines from what Bayern fans have said, they said he actually really liked him when he was on the pitch for him, and they're quite sad to see him go in the respect that they've not seen him play enough. He has made a good impression, but I think he'll start games for us. I think he has got that left-sided centre mid role, and we kind of like to play double pivot now under Jesse Marsch. He is going to be the left-sided holding midfielder or centre mid, whatever way you want to put it. The question is, and I've seen a couple of comments come in, will he be alongside Calvin Phillips? Will he be the replacement for Calvin Phillips? Will he bring someone else in to replace Calvin Phillips alongside Marc Roca? I honestly don't know. At this point. I've heard so many contrasting stories on Calvin Phillips from the media, different bits and pieces like that. I don't know. He's a different kind of midfielder to Calvin Phillips, though. Just to answer your question, Kev, he is a different kind of midfielder. He's a bit more of a... It's hard to know to compare him to. There's not a lot of players in the Premier who play like him. I guess a little bit like a Declan Rice, maybe a little bit less defensively aware than Declan Rice, but he likes to get on the ball. He'll play plenty of passes, always involved in the game, good on the ball, press resistant, all the kind of things you want from a team that wants to improve the quality in the midfield. And he's someone who can control the football match against teams outside that top six because, again, Chris, we've had loads of conversations about Leeds under Bielsa that it was beautiful to watch, but even when we finished 9th in the first season, as amazing as we were, there were a lot of basketball games where it was kind of like end to end. I think with Marc Roca, it just gives you that little bit more quality. You can turn the screw a little bit more in midfield and keep the ball a bit better and make sure we're like controlling the game a little bit better. And yeah, we might create a bit less, we might be a little bit less direct, but it's interesting because he's not signing for Bielsa, he's signing for Jesse Marsch, and we're not fully sure on what Jesse Marsch's style is yet because he's come in for 12 games to keep Leeds in the league. So I feel like he's a nice little addition who adds a bit of
price as well. 10 million, it's not the end of the world. And for someone who played well for the Spanish under-21s and come through the Spanish setup at international level all the way through, you know, when you look at what Cucurella's come in and done it in the league, and you look at some of the other Spanish players that are in the league, he's at the right age. And I think the way Leeds are going about their business, they're reminding me an awful lot of what Salzburg and RB Leipzig did in their way of changing how they buy players and what type of players they're targeting. The right Aronson and the Danish right back that they're after bringing in as well, they're all at a right good age to be able to show what they've got and kick on. And maybe in a couple of years, 2-3 years, you're looking to turn those players over, you know. But how have you looked at the window so far? Are you excited about the season coming up, or Are you a bit apprehensive? Where do you think you need to focus next?
It's a hard one. I mean, if you ask me in a month's time, I could have a very, very different answer for you because
We'll probably bring it back on.
It depends on who goes, really. I think more than anything at this moment in time. If Calvin and Rafinha go before the end of this window, in this transfer window, I think this transfer window will be looked at very differently. I think most Leeds fans can accept one of them going. I think we're realistic enough to say that, listen, they've been absolutely superb for us. They are good enough to play at the higher level in the league. But I think if both went in one window, that would be very, very difficult. But so far, superb, really.
If both go, who would you ideally like to see as the replacement for that? Look, let's talk of Sander Berg, which I think you weren't keen on with the price because the price rumours is about 35 million, isn't it? For Sander Berg?
Too much for me for Sander Berg. I think he's good enough for the Prem, but I'm not sure. For a replacement for Calvin Phillips, I'm not 100% on that. But one player that has been mentioned as a potential replacement for Calvin is, again, from RB Salzburg. Surprise, surprise. It's Mo Kamara from Salzburg, who is kind of like in between Roca and Phillips. He's not quite as good defensively as Calvin Phillips, but he does give you quite a bit on the ball. He's an interesting one. He's a bit of a... I don't know. I've not seen enough for him to fully comment, but just reading between the lines a little bit, he has been someone who's been linked from Salzburg. Again, he sounds like a decent fit. He's used to playing with Christensen on the right hand side of midfield, Aronson in front of him. Quite a nice dynamic there. In terms of Rafinha, it's hard. I don't know. I really don't know how he replace Rafinha because you look at it's a bit like the Mane situation in terms of there's not a lot of.
Do you need two to replace him almost?
Well, what I'll say is, Chris, there's not a lot of right-sided players great on the left foot who can cut in and score goals from the right. I don't think you have a lot of it. You've obviously got your Salah, Mahrez, Saka.
Don't tell us that. Don't tell us that. We've got to replace him next year.
Well, that's it. There's not a lot of depth, I don't think. You go on the other side of the pitch, left-sided players, right-footed cutting in. There's a much bigger pool of players to target in that kind of respect. So I don't know. And the other thing is that Jesse Marsh likes to play a 4-2-2-2. 4 and 3-2s system. Certainly did at Salzburg, and you had Haaland and Daka up top together. Again, we haven't got Haaland and Daka, I know that. But with that, you'd have attacking midfielders rather than wingers. So maybe we wouldn't look to replace Rafinha. Maybe we would go with Aronson on the right, Harrison on the left, and then two natural strikers in front. Maybe we'll go with that instead, because it's very difficult to replace Rafinha in terms of. But if it does come to it, then we'd have to obviously look at it. But I don't know on Rafinha, to be honest with you. I don't know how you replace him without it being a considerable drop off in terms of quality.
Yeah. So looking at the rest of the leagues, then, Luke, the rumours who City are going to buy look fairly smart. I think it covers where you would say City have a few gaps in their squad, which is Cucurella left back, which then gives competition for Cancel, but also Cancel can then also be used on the right hand side. Calvin Phillips, which covers the loss of Fernandinho, but also Gundogan may be going. So is that a switch to more of a 4-2-3-1? And then they've got obviously Haaland, and then they've got Alvarez as the backup striker to him, which is probably a good thing for Alvarez. It's like a young striker; he has no pressure on him. Seems like smart business by City.
Yeah, it does seem like smart business from City. I'm really interested to see how Cucurella is going to perform for City, because he's had a great season at Brighton. I think I watched the game against United at the Amex, and that was he was brilliant, just up and down the left-hand side. I think City are going through a little bit of a rebuild as well. Links of Sterling leaving, Gundogan leaving. I think
Mahrez has got a year left, doesn't he?
Mahrez got a year left. I saw rumours of Bernardo Silva to Barcelona.
But again, it's not like City doing a bit what we're doing. It's the end of their first great teams. Not first great, their first Guardiola team. They're now looking to make Guardiola 2 team. You know what I mean?
It's just a little bit of summer cleaning, basically in that squad. Sterling wants a big contract. City aren't going to give it to him, so City are like, sign or we will happily move you on. Mahrez, I think it's like 31 now. So I think I don't know whether or not he'll sign, or whether or not City will quite happily let him walk on a free. I think I saw reports of Saka being linked with Man City.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. I don't see it happening. Not this summer. I think it'll be far too much. I think it'll be around Jack Grealish types of money if City went in and.
Yeah, but listen, mate, they just got a sponsorship for the car park. It's 300 million. So don't worry about it.
Do you want my hot take on Saka? And I've kind of said this back in where the Salah.
We're like a hot take.
Contract things were all like obviously been spoken about. I think he'll be a Salah replacement. Personally, I think he'll be the player. You don't think?
Go on, give us your reason.
I don't think he's good enough. Pure and simple. I think he's overrated. If he wasn't English, you wouldn't be looking that much at him.
If he was like Pepe,
he's a good player. Yeah, he's a good player. He's a versatile player, but he's not a left winger. He's not clinical enough. He's defensively, when he played at left wing back for Arsenal, he was all right. He could get up and down. He's got energy. He's got a trick. His passing isn't brilliant. It's okay. It's good. But if you're going to be looking to replace someone who offers you 20-plus goals a season, year in, year out, Bukayo Saka is not that guy.
But he's only 22, though, to be fair.
Also,
I know.
He's 20, isn't he?
He's a Nunes, that guy, though. Maybe we've already bought a solid replacement for goals in Nunes.
It's not even that. I just think that there's, for the money that it would take to get him, I think there's other right wingers out there that you could probably get as good and cheaper. It's not. I just don't see it in him. There's a few players like that. Like Rafinha. No respect to Leeds fans. I don't see it in Rafinha. I think at his age.
Outright. I agree, though, Kev. For the purposes of keeping him, I absolutely agree. I've got to say as well that Calvin Phillips is a massively overrated player.
I'll tell you one thing with Calvin Phillips. Does Calvin Phillips suit what Man City, how Pep plays? Not for me.
No, like he doesn't have a great short passing game. He's more of a.
He's got a good. I think he's a very good player. I think he'd suit. There's a lot of. I liked him. I liked him for Liverpool a couple of years ago. His injury would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah,
that is the worry with if Bielsa ball is.
But I don't know if he suits Man City. I think he would suit Manchester United.
But mate, you made suit Manchester United the state they're in at the moment. So let's be honest. Let's be honest.
You know what I mean? There's players out there in the league at the minute, and you look at it, and clubs are asking astronomical fees for these players.
Stupid money. That's why players are breaking down the contracts.
Genuinely, they've done nothing. What's Bukayo Saka done?
I mean, the interesting thing
is he's only the top four when they had gift wrapped them. It was gift wrapped and handed to them.
Yes, Kev.
All they had to do was turn up and play and win their games. He's not done anything of note to turn around and have a 50, 60, 70 million pound price tag on his head.
Higher than that. 2 years left, and he's English, and he's young.
Look, I could be totally wrong. I was totally wrong on Diaz. I was totally wrong on Diaz.
It could be to a Diaz, Kev, but
Well, the other thing is, in terms of obviously his output, you've got to look at who's playing alongside, like Lacazette. I mean, you're not going to get many assists with someone who can't even run into the box, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Is it a question? Is he gone stale because the environment he's in?
Yeah,
we've seen that with a few sometimes Arsenal players that to get out of the environment of Arsenal, it doesn't. Some players just need it because they've gone stale.
There's wonders, yeah.
I think if you're going to be spending that kind of money, you have to be sure. You know what I mean? You have to be right. Liverpool especially, the way we're ran in the fact that you can spend what you make, you cannot afford to make a mistake at that level.
But the other thing is,
absolutely certain.
Look at the improvement Klopp got from Salah. I mean, Salah wasn't getting anywhere near the numbers he's got now at Roma, or
he was getting about 50. He was getting 15, 20. So he was starting to get underlying numbers similar to what Mane was getting. He just took.
And I think him and Dzeko at Roma.
He was up, but he was up, but Salah was older. I mean, he was like early 20s, like 24 when he.
I think he was 24 by the time he came to them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, if we're playing fancy football a little bit, if Liverpool wait till next summer,
With 1 year left on this deal.
1 year left in the deal, Arsenal don't make Champions League football, which I'll be honest is probably a pretty
They're
safe
not going
bet at the moment.
Hey, I've already made bets for next season that they're not getting top 4.
I sort of feel
Right.
like players with 1 year on the contract, that's becoming a bit of a Liverpool thing that we're quite good at getting players with 1 year on the contract. Listen, it may happen, it may not happen, but we'll worry
I
about
think
that
he'll
a bit
sign
later.
a deal.
But let's go. Who else are we going to talk about? Kev, Brighton have got a bit of a rebuild going on.
Brighton have got a bit of a war chest.
Yeah.
And Potter,
No,
Potter has become very good at spending money. And for their sake, I hope to God they invest in a striker. They're such a good side to watch that if they had a proper 9, someone who could get him 15 goals. If they had someone who you could bank on to get him 15 goals, a 1 and 2 striker.
Danny Ings.
No, because Danny Ings can't play 38 games.
No, yes.
You know what I mean? As much as Danny Ings was a really good Premier League player, 3 or 4 years ago, he's not going to play 38 games. So, but selling Cucurella, selling Bissouma, which is a really good pickup for Spurs. We'll come
to Spurs because I'll probably say so far that they've had the smartest summer.
I'm interested to see what Brighton do with the money they've got, because now that clubs know that they have money.
That's
whereas
the issue.
Whereas last season, apparently they tried to sign Darwin Núñez last summer and got rebuffed. But the fact that they got Cucurella in when they did and for how much they did shows that they're willing to spend at that level. And yeah, Prakhtar is right. The director of football who was at Brighton is now at Newcastle.
That's a hell of a coup for Newcastle.
That could have issues for them, but I hope not. I hope that Brighton can spend well, because I like Potter. I like the way he plays. And I think after the World Cup, I think Brighton will do well to hold on to him when the England job becomes available.
I think as well, Brighton might lose the keeper, Sanchez. I think there's a lot of clubs I've seen linked with him. Obviously, Spain's number 1 now as well, and that's obviously going to add quite a bit of interest into him. Good for his feet, good shot stopper. I think he's proven that for Brighton over the last season or so. So it could be quite a bit of a tricky one for Brighton in terms of losing quite a few important players from him. But it's so obvious a striker situation, isn't it? It's been. But you could ask anyone
Robert Sanchez would be perfect for United.
Who's that? Sorry,
Robert Sanchez, the goalkeeper, be perfect for United to play out from the back.
I don't think United will go for a keeper because they've still got David De Gea.
Oh yeah, I think there's 1 year left. I think it's
Nottingham Forest. Yeah, I think it's till De Gea's contract runs out. Does give that. De Gea had a very good season. I know he's a bit of a car cross the ball.
That might be getting a new deal as well. He's got a year left.
I know, Chris, you want to talk about Spurs, but let's have a quick chat about Manchester United, because they're a club that they're a club that need to be spending, and they need to be bringing in bodies. Their players are due back in 2 weeks. Season starts in 6. You have a new manager, and they've done nothing.
Well, no,
what the hell's going on? Nothing.
I mean, I saw one of the.
It's great, isn't it?
The Athletic. I think one of the Athletic journalists was saying there is a €20 million gap between what Man United want to bid and what Barcelona wants. I mean, when you're talking that level, that's a deal at the moment. Feels like that's also dead in the water. And look, if you believe what the United press will tell you, Núñez and De Jong were their 2 main boys. That's what they wanted to build. And look, they made sense. We said it.
Yeah.
January, Núñez would be great for United. That's what they need, a mobile number 9 who could also fill out wide as well. So you could still play him and Ronaldo, because he could play wide left, Ronaldo in the middle, and Sancho on the right. And you still, it would make United exciting. So I can see why they went for him. They unfortunately couldn't keep it quiet enough to keep a lip up. A bit like Diaz. Diaz coming to Diaz in the Tottenham thing, just couldn't keep it quiet enough. But they just feel like they need an awful lot of work to make. They're a centre back light both fullbacks are crap.
The links to Julian Timber look like they're legit. You know, he looks like
he's got like, do I want to move before the World Cup? That's what they're going to have problems with.
I think he's safe as houses for the Dutch side. You know, Van Gaal will pick him no matter what.
I think he's safe as houses to start for United as well.
Yeah, he's easily better than most of the centre backs. Well, no, he is better than all of the centre backs that they have.
Even if he turns up training pissed, he's still safe.
Well, it's just one of those rebuilds that's going on there. They've lost an awful lot of wages off the bill,
which is a positive because then.
But the one thing that Manchester United always were they were an attractive side as a destination club because they were regulars in the Champions League. They were challenging for titles. They were challenging for domestic honours. They were going deep into Europe. Those days are gone. And the fact that the United, the people who are responsible for transfers are still shopping in that market and thinking that United is a destination club for the likes of De Jong and Darwin Núñez shows to me the delusions that they're still living in. They're still living in cuckoo land.
I think the Núñez one probably wasn't delusions. I think it was young 22-year-old. I think it was the right profile of play. It's one of those ones where you're going, I just hope a Liverpool or City aren't interested. But that's probably the type of player they should be looking at. So, I mean, De Jong, I get why they look at De Jong because of previously working with the manager. He's a great player, but
want to join. He's made it obvious I want to stay at Barcelona. With Barcelona's financial situation easy.
They don't want him. So,
well, Oscar, you know your Spanish football. What's the story with Barcelona this week? Because there's been an awful lot in the news. So you fill us in. You educate us, mate. What's going on there?
Well, Chris is right. To be fair,
there's a first. Record that.
They don't want him, but the reason they don't want him is because they see him as a big opportunity to recoup a lot of money. To recoup 60 to 70 million just for selling him because they got Pedri in that position and Gavi in that position as well. They see them too, and obviously the signed Frank Kessie as well, who can provide good backup in those kind of positions as well. So they definitely see De Jong as the most sellable out of all the players because they're never going to sell Pedri, they're never going to sell Araujo, they're never going to sell Fati. They're not going to sell those kind of players, in terms of the young.
What's the story with Trincao? He's at Wolves last season.
Oh yeah.
Does he go back?
I don't know. I think possibly because they're running out of wingers. I think Barcelona at this moment in time because obviously Traore, that predictably just didn't work. That was such a surprise. The
fanboys are in.
Massive surprise that it wasn't good enough for Barcelona. But yeah, De Jong is a really interesting one because he's going to find himself in a really sticky situation potentially. Barcelona's financial situation, I honestly don't know whether they're in a good one or a bad one because they agreed a world record sponsorship deal with Spotify. Spotify basically sponsor everything. Soon they'll be called Barcelona Spotify FC because everything's Spotify now in Barcelona. Stadium, shirts, everything is Spotify. They've sold all sorts of different deals. Percentage of their TV deal, I think 25% of the TV deal, 25% of the commercial deal, 25% of merchandise, all sorts of things. They're taking all these risks. But in terms of short-term cash flow from making all these moves, they might well be able to keep De Jong. I don't think, if you ask Xavi now, you've got a choice. Money's no object. You want to sell Frenkie De Jong. He probably doesn't, but he probably just looks at De Jong and thinking he's the most sellable asset in that kind of respect. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, Lewandowski looks very, very likely to be turning up at Barcelona, you think.
What happened to Aubameyang? Like, they signed in, didn't they?
Yeah, Aubameyang's an interesting one now. All of a sudden, he's gone from being a backup striker at Arsenal, and now he's going to probably be a backup striker at Arsenal.
You still have Memphis. You have Memphis Depay there as well.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Depay is a weird one, really. I think he's played really well when he's played for Barcelona, but the fans haven't really taken to him because it was in the impossible position. Memphis Depay came in like pretty much at the same time as Messi leaving, so he's always in the impossible position.
It was like signing as well from the Koeman era as well. He was like a standout figure in that pretty poor patch for Barcelona
Yeah.
under Koeman, so they
definitely.
probably want to see the back of him.
In terms of De Jong, I just can't see him going to Man United personally. I might be wrong.
I think he'll go eventually. I think if the money's right, if they chuck enough wages, he'll go. I think he'll go.
I hope I'm right, because if he ends up at Man United, I'm a little bit concerned that they might be.
Him and Van der Beek could bring the best out of each other.
They need to do more. They still need to do more, but
they still need more.
Improve that midfield a hell of a lot. I'm not going to lie. He will improve that midfield a hell of a lot. I mean, it wouldn't take a lot, but it would be a massive signing for him. But I just can't see him signing for a team that's in the Europa League. I think if he is to leave Barcelona, I think he probably does go to a different club, probably. But I might be totally wrong with that.
Were linked with him, weren't they? City were sniffing around and PSG and something.
He's a City-style player. He's a City type. He's a type of player Pep would love in terms of play alongside.
Could you see a straight swap done with Bernardo Silva?
I tell you what, if you're Barcelona, you take that all day long, because
I think if you're Man City, you take that.
Nope.
I think if you're Man City, you take that. To be honest, I do. Yeah. I think he's a genuine Pep player. He could play that left-sided 8 role with and just glide through games. His passing is impeccable. His vision is up there with the best centre midfielders in the world. It's just a case: could he handle the pace and physicality of the league? It would be a hell of a signing.
The thing is, though, you look at their midfield without a Bernardo Silva buzzing around all over the place. It does all of a sudden look a little bit.
Where's the dynamism?
Well, you go to Anfield, you think of Frankie de Jong, KDB, Rodri. You can steamroll that, mate. As good as it is, quality-wise, I still feel like physically you can bully that midfield. I think Bernardo Silva's got a little bit of...
Yeah. The only thing I would say is, and I don't know if this is just because I think with people have misconception of Kevin De Bruyne, I think he's massive.
Yeah.
I think because he's blonde, he's Belgian, I think he's quite nice, and he's got a wonderful foot.
No,
I think everyone thinks he's a nice player. He's an absolute beast, and he's deceptively quick.
Yeah. And then you've still got Phil Foden, who could play at the top of a diamond if they wanted to go down that route.
Yeah, Phil Foden just loves scoring at Anfield, which is a really annoying habit he's developed.
Yeah, he's got to be around for a decade, that annoying little prick.
I know, it's so annoying. He's just so good. It's so annoying.
But I still think Bernardo Silva's more tenacious. I think he can get up and down the pitch a lot more, but I think he's just a complete... He's just the Duracell bunny for me, Bernardo Silva. But I agree, KDB's underrated in that kind of respect, and I still think he does. I think Rodri's amazing. I think he's a really, really good holding midfielder. But I think the work Bernardo Silva does in front is massive.
He's improved a lot, Rodri, because in his first year or so, he didn't know what was behind him.
In that Community Shield,
but the thing is, he had David Silva in front of him at that time. David Silva, KDB. David Silva doesn't give you the same as what Bernardo does. So
no, Bernardo's just a player that if he's yours, you love him, but everybody else hates him. He's
annoying. He's an annoying player to play against.
Yeah, right. Speaking of annoying, because it's the elephant in the room we've got to talk about. So, and I felt sorry for the lad on it. So we pretty much signed Calvin Ramsey, which looked great, young right back, apparently highly thought of. Mr. Joyce put the line in it going, that's Liverpool done now until 2023, which I feel a bit sorry for, because it kind of glossed over that we just signed a lad. And social media blew up because Kev, everyone thought we were signing Bellingham, and that illusion seems to have vanished, doesn't it, really, mate?
It definitely seems to have vanished, Chris.
Almost IP vanished. There you go. There's your IP for the show. Chris. I know. So for those who didn't know, if your browser's gone online in incognito, it doesn't actually protect your privacy. You're basically giving all your security away to hackers and advertisers and all the undesirables. So what you need to get yourself is IPVanish VPN, which will keep you truly private and secure on the internet, and it'll protect 100% of your data. IPVanish can be used on unlimited devices without sacrificing speed, and you can use it at home or out in the public. And all it is one click of a button. So for you guys who are watching us, they're offering you guys 70% off their yearly plan with 30-day money-back guarantee. So basically getting 9 months for free. And these guys are still at 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. So if you want to take up the offer, go to ipvanish.com /Daytrippers, and all the details are in the link below. Right. Oh,
Sorry, my phone.
And that's us getting demonetized.
We don't get money. We don't get super chats. You're all good.
Just so you know, that's not the ringtone for IP Vanish.
I'd have started that out, Chris. I'd have started that out, to be fair. They said, yeah, that's the...
I'm a 39-year-old white man. There's no way I'm styling anything. Have you seen the sign?
If we get demonetized with this video, I massively apologize.
I don't think that's anyone's song. Luckily, bless you. Turn your phone off though.
Sorry.
Oscar, before we jump in for the rest of the guys, outside of looking in, if the no midfielder for Liverpool is true, how do Liverpool adapt, look for next season, or is it a bit of a game of poker? This, because it's, in my opinion, it's very rare that the local patch is briefed this early about anything. So I'll let you think, Oscar.
Yeah, I think first of all, the thing to mention is that the way people are talking is like Jordan Henderson's like a terrible midfielder all of a sudden, and Naby Keita's terrible and all this lot. You're thinking they're not bad midfielders. It's just the fact that Man City, you look what Man City are operating with. That's what your benchmark's got to be. You know, obviously we've said about Rodri, KDB, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, all these different kind of players. Liverpool, I think, have got some very, very good midfielders. I just think they need someone else alongside Fabinho and Thiago, who's going to really own that position. And you've got to mention as well, Thiago is not going to play every game. Your benchmark's 25 games a season in the league. You might get 30, 35 out of him in all competitions. You're not going to get every game out of Thiago Alcantara. For me, it does seem bizarrely early to confirm something like that. No midfielders to the side 6 weeks before the season. I just can't see it. I still think you will probably go for someone. It probably won't be Jude Bellingham. I do feel like Jude Bellingham's probably going to be more of a next summer kind of transfer. But there's a few players I look at potentially you could go for. And this might sound mad, but I look at this might sound crazy. I mean, I don't know what kind of money he's on, but I look at like a Real Madrid, for example. Obviously they brought in Camavinga, a couple of midfielders, loads of different kind of number 8s now. Valverde obviously emerging. Could you really test the waters with someone like a Toni Kroos and just say, what about finishing your career in the Premier League? Could you do something like that? I don't know.
Might finish his legs off, to be fair.
It's that. But
I thought you were going to say Valverde. Then I was getting quite excited.
You prefer Valverde?
I like his versatility.
He's excellent.
I like his versatility because he'd cover centre mid in a 4-3-3, and if we went 4-2-3-1, he'd be quite good in the wider positions as well. As we saw, to be fair, as we saw the Champions League value, he was very good. So, but to be fair, Real Madrid, and obviously I never sell Valverde to anyone. So, but no. So yeah, I mean, I think I've done a quick maths. I think so. We've got 8 to 9 registered centre mids. So we have got 10. We've got number wise. We've actually got quite a lot of centre mids. But the question always is
quality.
Fabinho. No, I don't think it's even quality. Fabinho's a quality DM. Misses at least 2 months season. Thiago, we've said 25 games max. Keita actually was available quite a lot this season, but he does have spells out. Milner's 48 years old, so you got to limit his minutes. Yeah. Jones and Elliott are kids. So, but Jones again was doing okay for Liverpool until he had his detached retina, which is a bit of a blow. And then Henderson made the most appearances last year. I think he played 54 games last year.
Yeah, I think he made the most appearances out of anyone.
Yeah, and I think that's partly the reason for the dip in Henderson's form was I think he was overplayed. But I think he's overplayed because we all remember that the game at Tottenham where we ended up with, is it Keita, Milner, Walter, because everyone got injured or got COVID. So I think it's the reliability that's more of the issue in terms of availability, sorry.
Do you not look at, we're going to talk about Tottenham, but I just look at Bazuma at the price mentioned. I just think if someone who can cover Fabinho, play in Fabinho's position, probably better a bit higher up the pitch, can play it anywhere in that midfield free. Have you not missed a trick there, possibly?
I think it was more off the pitch issues about why we didn't really
there is
go near him. And plus, apparently, he wanted to go to Arsenal last summer. That was who he really wanted to go to. So Liverpool just went, all right, see you later, goodbye.
Does anyone really want to go to Arsenal though? Like, really want to go there?
Apparently he's an Arsenal fan.
He pushed for the Arsenal move last year, and Arsenal backed out. And to me, you got to ask yourself, what did Arsenal find out about him as a person? Because he would have suited Arsenal to it. He's exactly what Arsenal need. And what do people inside the game know that we don't? And you have to assume that there's something there, because at 25 million, Spurs can't have been the only one who would have been interested in him at that price. The off-field stuff, we'll see what happens with that. But on the pitch, he's a good player. You know,
can I just caveat that? There's one caveat. The off-field stuff, I was assuming he'd been cleared there. That was my fault.
He's still on bail. He's still on bail.
Yeah,
so Tottenham are
it's a
paying
risky one then. In that kind of sense. Yeah,
which made
don't sign. You know what heads?
Well, troublemaker there is a good shot. Matheus Nunes.
I saw he was off to Wolves.
Yeah, I think he's not reasonably priced at 45 million euro. Vieira's going to Arsenal today at 34 million pounds. That's all the money for him. All of the money plus some, because I just
5
don't.
million add-ons, I think so.
I don't think he's worth that much.
He had like 20 league starts last season, which isn't a lot.
He's a good player. I've only seen him over a tournament for Portugal for the under-21s. He was the Portuguese under-21 captain last year, and I watched a bit of him this year. And he's good, but I don't think he's going to be pulling up any trees. And for 35 million or 34 million plus, you need better for that kind of money for me. Liverpool were apparently testing the waters with Sangare, and obviously we were heavily linked with Tchouaméni. So I think when the club briefed the press to make that kind of statement that we're done now, we've got our 3 signings, we're done. It's kind of like going into a car showroom with a bulging wallet and saying, I need a car, anything with 4 wheels and an MOT will do. The salesman's going to look at you and he's going to, right, I'm getting a bonus here. He's just going to have you over a barrel, because they know that you have money and you have to buy a player. The likes of Oxlade-Chamberlain needs a move this summer, to revive his career, to kickstart his career again. He needs to be playing football regularly at his age, like Adam Lallana when he moved to Brighton. Now, if we're looking to be actively looking to be selling him, we're going to want to try and maximize, like we did with Sadio Mane, the best possible deal we can get for him. You don't do that by telling everyone that we're having a fire sale because we need to bring in a midfielder. So
I do wonder how much that. I always wonder how many clubs really fall for that.
No, they don't. But
if 4 lads on the internet can say that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think
work it out.
But I think it's a case that, look, if we went in with the 9 midfielders that we have, okay, you've got Fabinho, Thiago, Henderson, Milner, Jones, Carvalho, you have Elias, 7, Tyler Morton, 8, and I think there is one more.
Chamberlain.
Naby Keita.
Yeah.
That's 9 to play in three positions. You're going to be playing, hopefully, God willing, we'll be playing 64 games again next season. You have to fill 3 spots for those amount of games. Take out the domestic cups early rounds, because they're going to be filled with the squad players. What do we really, really need? If we're going to be targeting Jude Bellingham next summer, then the only reason you don't do a deal this year, because we have to replace Bobby next year, and we possibly will have to replace Salah next year. So the only reason you wait for a Jude Bellingham is if you've had a nod and a wink. He wants Liverpool, and same kind of thing that Thiago did. I don't want to talk to anyone else. I want my deal with you. That's my buyout. Let's just talk about the wages.
Yeah. I mean, the way to flip it is,
I still think we get one more in. I think we get a job.
I'm fine with waiting for a Bellingham if you think you've got a good chance of getting him, because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But even if Bellingham comes in, just say fancy world Bellingham comes in, you're still then looking at going, well, Milner's going to leave. If Chamberlain doesn't go, Chamberlain's going. So there's 2 centre mids gone.
Keita maybe.
Keita may be going, maybe not going. I think Keita might get a new deal. But then Henderson's another year older. Henderson probably will eventually evolve into the Milner role. So
And then probably looking at Jones then.
Yeah,
if he's done enough this season, are you potentially looking at offers for him?
I don't know why you'd look at offers for Jones, because from March onwards, Elliott's getting nowhere near the squad, and I don't think all of that is also to do with off the field stuff on Instagram or his fitness stuff. I think it's because, in my opinion, Elliott's got all the talent in the world, but off the ball he doesn't do enough yet, and defensively, and I think that's the thing he's going to learn. But he's 17, 18?
He's 18, 19.
He's an 18-year-old kid. What do you expect? But my question is, playing devil's advocate then, say we don't sign anyone. If we are talking of, let's say, another 4-2-3-1, then you're basically saying Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago, Keita, and Milner. Those 5 cover the 2 holding positions.
Yeah.
And then you say to Jones and Elliott, and Knox if he stays.
And a Carvalho as well.
And a Carvalho, they're more going to play in...
They'll be your support players for Diaz, Salah, Bobby, and Darwin.
Jones's background is when he's in the 23s was left of a front 3, or he played left in a 4-2-3-1 because that suited his game to cut inside.
Yeah.
Elliott prefers to play on the right, and Carvalho is brilliant through the middle for Fulham. So maybe that's the way they're thinking. If they can't get the one they want, is the 4-2-3-1, and also that takes leg pressure off Henderson, Fabinho, Keita, because they don't have to do as much running. Or Oscar, is that wishful thinking from a Liverpool fan? Which may well be the case.
I wouldn't change system for me. I wouldn't do that. For me, I think you kind of mentioned it at the start of the show. I think if you were waiting for Jude Bellingham, for me, a sensible thing to do would be to go to Southampton and just get James Ward-Prowse. Now, I don't think James Ward-Prowse...
I forgot we said that.
I don't think he's like the complete like jigsaw in the puzzle kind of thing. But he's a decent little stopgap until you get Jude Bellingham, because I look at like the way Henderson and Trent link up on that side of the pitch. Obviously, Trent cuts in, Henderson might go on the outside of him. I think if you have Ward-Prowse going on the outside of him, that extra bit of quality delivery, you've got Darwin Núñez in there, a 6'3" centre forward, coming into crosses from Ward-Prowse, coming into crosses from Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think it might be quite an interesting one. I don't think James Ward-Prowse is a particularly great footballer, but in terms of end product, getting the ball into the box, work rate, I think he's a good fit just for the short term until you get some like the funds for Jude Bellingham. I think that's your option. I just think going to a 4-2-3-1, I look at your options at 10 and says obviously Carvalho I think is a really good player. Jones, Elliott I think are really promising as well. Firmino. But are any of them really? Are there any of them really like proper number 10s? Like,
well, Bobby actually
in the world in their position.
Bobby was a 10 when we signed him from Hoffenheim.
But is he the same player now? Is it? I love Firmino, but he's not the same.
No, he's not.
He's not quite the same player. I think in 2 years ago he could have done it no problem, but I think now. I look at the other number 10s in the league. I don't think they're in that class for me. The options you have at this minute in time to change to a 4-2-3-1 and change your whole style of play for potentially a number 10 who's not good enough at this moment in time. I think you should stay to a 4-3-3, bring in someone for the short term and wait for Bellingham. Or, even better, get Bellingham in now.
Yeah.
I think to get Bellingham out of Dortmund this season would probably take an offer of in around 90 million euro.
Yeah.
But we're
talking to pay 50, 60 for.
Yeah, I don't think the money would be a problem, to be fair, because you look at what we're recouping.
Not want to lose Haaland and Bellingham same summer.
But I don't think that will bother them too much.
To be fair to Kev, Kev's right pointed out, I think the money Dortmund made from Haaland isn't actually that much. I think it was great for Dortmund to get a player Haaland on the pitch, but I don't think they made that much money. I think RB Salzburg made more money from it than Dortmund, which is a bit mad, really. So maybe but look, I don't. Do Dortmund need the money? I don't know for German football. Are they hard up for cash? I feel
I don't think they are. But
German clubs are normally pretty well run. Troublemaker saying Christian Eriksen on a free. It's an option.
It's an option, but you know what? I loved Christian Eriksen when Eriksen was at Ajax, and we brought in. I think it was in around the time he was at Ajax, and we brought in Coutinho at the same time. And I remember watching a BBC grandstand, and they are football focus, and they did a special on Ajax and Christian Eriksen at Ajax. I think England were playing Denmark in a friendly or something at the time. And he was a special player. He really was. And he was brilliant for Brentford last year. But at Brentford, he was given time and freedom to play in how he wants to play. And I honestly 100% believe that he should stay at Brentford for the rest of his career and be the big fish in the small pond, and the club will be built around how he wants to play.
Plus, Brentford,
I think if he goes to a big club again, you get lost.
Plus, to be fair to him, Brentford's the only ones who really took a chance on him after his health scare. Tanzi points out money talks. I think it means Dortmund, were willing to sell Sancho to United a season before they actually went there. Obviously, United just didn't pay the fee. So, look,
I don't think the fee would be a problem for Liverpool when you look at what we're bringing in now. Look at the fee we're bringing in for Sadio. Okay, Taki is 17 million, first come first serve. So
Nico is 15.
Nico is 15.
There's a lot of interest in about 15. Well, the talk is the only
Nat could be staying and going on loan.
The only interest we've got in Nat is loan deals. Nobody wants to pay the money for him.
Yeah. You also have the Grujic money coming in this summer. You have the Harry Wilson money coming in this summer.
Because we delayed
plus any other sales from the rest of the squad that go out.
Chamberlain
would have to be replaced. And we've just come off a massive run in the Premier League, a Champions League final. The night deal, the merchandising and everything is through the roof. So if we wanted to make a statement signing in a Jude Bellingham, I firmly believe in the long term that is a pure Moneyball signing. It's a pure FSG signing. You're signing a player for 10 years.
Sam Tandy points out you forgot the 100 million we're going to get for Ben Davis. The world's invisible man. He's bless him.
But you know what I mean? I honestly think we're in a good spot.
If you don't do Bellingham this summer, you're putting a lot of pressure on next summer because
that's what I'm thinking.
Might have to replace Salah.
Summer's going to be busy anyway, as it is.
Yeah,
if not, Salah's leaving, Firmino's leaving potentially. So are you just?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Even more difficult.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Bobby goes on a 12-month rolling contract from next year at his age. Klopp loves him,
and he seems happy, and he's sort of embraced the roles as a.
If you take a pay cut.
Well, you look at Milner's already taken a pay cut to stay.
Yeah.
And a sizable pay cut by all accounts as well.
Like a 90 grand pay cut, I think, to stay.
Yeah. So
I mean, in a nice way,
that's a hell of a thing for any player to do. Because he had offers. He could have gone to 2 or 3 other clubs and probably played a lot more football.
I mean, if I'm honest, I know people say, "Oh, to take pay cut." I really don't give a shit if a footballer takes a pay cut. It's not my money. I don't care less.
Pay the money.
If the club are willing to pay it and they're willing to accept it, go for it. I don't get hung up on what footballers earn. They earn what they earn. So be it. I mean, Kev, we'll talk about centre midfield. We have signed a centre midfielder. Jay Spearing. Wow, this story came out of nowhere, but when you read into it, it's a bit of a quirky way of doing things, but it's interesting. So Jay Spearing is coming back into the club where he's going to do his coaching badges. He's going to play a bit of under-23s football, but his role is a new role that Inglethorpe, the academy director, has brought in, and it is to drive in, is to help develop the under-23s, under-18s. Now, whether that's to develop them to be ready for Liverpool first team, or whether it's to give the reality check of not all of you will make it as a Liverpool player, because guess what? Loads of lads don't make it into academies across all Premier League clubs. This is what you need to be ready for men's football. So if you want to, look, he had one full season at Liverpool in the first team, Jay Spearing, under Kenny. He had a couple of appearances under Rafa. But then he went on to have a career in Championship, League One, League Two, probably a good money, lived the dream of being a professional footballer. And maybe it's a development point. But how are you seeing it?
I think it's a great move for Spearing, and it's a good, smart move for the club to show the academy players that, look, not everything's a bed of roses, but there is a career to be had in the game. And you got to look at the quality of players that we're bringing in at the 15, 16, 17 year age bracket at the minute. And apparently we're looking to bring in a kid that Arsenal are desperate to keep. So keep an eye out for that one. I think Kieran Thorne was talking about it, a young 15 or 16-year-old kid from Arsenal, really, really highly rated. But we're bringing in a lot of quality at that age range to hopefully develop and give the option, the chance to get into a first team. But across most sides in the top, I'd argue the top 10 clubs in the Premier League, the vast majority of under-23s don't make it to stay in the same club. You very rarely see sides, if they do break in, that they play a second season. A lot of the times they might have a breakout season and they're sold, or they just fall away. Too much too soon. It's a good move for him, for players that came through the academy, that you can go out and have a career and come back. It's a very similar thing to what Ajax do, and a lot of the Dutch clubs do actually, is that, you might come through at Ajax, be sold by Ajax, have a career somewhere in Europe, and then find your way back into the club. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good way of in the long run, of helping these players after their careers are about to come to an end. Come back, do your coaching badges, and if you want to go into management, we'll help you there too. Just because you leave the club at 21, 22, we don't renew your contract, doesn't mean that you're finished in football, and you can still find your way back into the club later on down the line. I think it's a really good thing that clubs should be doing it more often, to be honest.
Yeah. Luke, Sam Tandy puts a good point. Spearing knows how to break through our academy, which, to be fair, he did. So that experience will help. And as Kev's been pointing out, there's a big thing in football for a lot of young players, how crushing it is to be in an academy from the age of 8 to 18 and then go, right, you're done now, off you go. And it is very cutthroat, right, down, you're done, next batch. And I think maybe someone like a Jake Spearing, who basically, he got sold, but, it's going through that, I don't play for my dream, I don't play for my club anymore, which, he's a big Liverpool fan,
Yeah.
It's kind of like, this is how you cope with it. So maybe this is also like a bit of a post-Liverpool looking after players, this is where you go if you don't make it. Look, Oscar, they'll probably do some, you would think Leeds would like to do something like that, because not every academy player is going to be like Gelhardt. I'm going to break through and do really well. There'll be loads of talents at Leeds, and Leeds Academy is very good, that aren't going to make it. So it's how they cope with it.
Yeah, I think at any club, there's always going to be a low percentage, really, relatively speaking. It's not very rarely going to get anywhere near even half the players that are in the academy really make it to the Premier League level, or the level of the club they're in the academy for, kind of thing. The only step really is down for most of the players, really. But the thing is, as well, to mention about Spearing is, just because he wasn't the best player doesn't mean he's not going to be the best coach, kind of thing. It's not, doesn't really always work like that. Obviously we've seen with Lampard at Everton, kind of thing, across the park. It doesn't mean anything really in terms of, I always start with Lampard, to be fair. It's not a rare thing for me to start with Lampard, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything in that kind of respect. You look at the top managers in the world, a lot of them were average footballers. It's not the end of the world. The fact that
Klopp admits it.
Yeah,
he said, I had the brain of a footballer, but I had no talent to go with it, which held me back.
This is it, exactly. It doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to be a really good coach. I think in a way it's better. I think certainly for working with the under-23s, the fact that he hasn't quite made it in terms of being a Liverpool regular, whether he was ever at that level, I don't know. Probably wasn't, but the fact that he has had to go to the Bolton, he has had to go into League One, in that kind of respect as well. And he's been in a lot of tricky situations in his career. He's played for a club at Bolton where they're about to go out of business, so he'll know perspective. He'll be able to teach these players perspective, and I'd imagine he's picked up some good coaching badges. So again, I think it could be a decent move in a lot of different respects. But yeah, it should never, just because Jay Spears wasn't a good player doesn't mean it's not a good appointment as a coach. I mean, Michael Beale, who's just gone to QPR, one of the best coaches in England. I mean, so many people I've spoken to in England say he's among the top 2 or 3 in England at the very least. So it doesn't matter necessarily. And let's be honest, Michael Beale, with his CV in terms of what he's done, probably gets a better job than QPR if he'd had a better playing career, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think just the fact he didn't have a playing career means that no other club took a punt on him. It's took this long for him to get a job just for that reason. And that's nonsense, really, if we're being totally honest. That's been not. John Terry will walk into a job soon.
Yeah, but listen, we'll move on from Jay Spears. It's nice to listen. When he starts away at City in April and falls off, it'll be absolutely amazing. But
I'll be fuming if that ever happens. But
yeah, right. Before we move off out the subject, I've just seen this comment here, but I think this sort of stuff needs to be dismissed a little bit. Darren Spaceport. Ooh, I've lost him. In essence, saying our current owners invest all their money. Basically, there we go. Darren says Liverpool owners take a big chunk of profit. City owners invest in the pitch. Hard to say, but true. It's not actually true because, and look, Darren, come back at me if I'm wrong, but there's nothing in anything in our accounts that says any money from the owner money goes to the owners. The only money that goes to the owners is the loan they gave us for the stand. So that's all it is. And ultimately, as much as people don't like, and I think people are going to find this conversation a little uncomfortable, is if we don't sign a midfielder, it's not just the owners that have agreed that. It's Jurgen Klopp. After 2 extensions, I think he kind of likes the way things are run. I think he kind of likes the way we do business. So if we don't sign someone, it's as much on Jurgen Klopp as it is on the owners. I know people don't like to say that because it's an easy thing to shout at the owners, but it's the way of the world. Now look, I could be wrong, but that's how I see it.
The only money that goes out of the club to FSG is to the directors in terms of wages. The likes of Mike Gordon draws a wage. The club itself is self-sufficient. It's self-sustained. I'd urge anyone to go and watch an episode of Coppish from last week where they had Mo Shatra on. I think it was Thursday night. And Callum did an interview with him where they explained how the club finances work and the ins and outs of it and how we spend, how we make money. It's a great watch and it's well worth watching and you'll learn a lot coming out of it. Also follow him on Twitter and also Swiss Ramble.
Swiss Ramble's very good.
Yeah, any of these guys, when they do big, long threads, they go into the detail of the known finances of the club, where they go through the accounts, they go through the ins and outs, and you can see what money goes where. And you have to look at it and think, as a club, we can spend what we make. We buy and sell. We sell really well, not as well as others, but we buy. Our strike rate in the transfer market is impeccable. And that's down to everything from the recruitment team, the manager, the owners, and the caliber of players, the quality of characters that we're looking to sign. It's the whole package. You don't do it this often by accident. And you have to stand back and say, look, just because I like the look of a certain player, I love the look of Mane, but I bet you when I think Keith was talking about it on a show last week, and he was probably right on the money. We'd probably been out of that race for Mane for a good month or 6 weeks once Real Madrid lost out on Mbappe, and it was known that they were losing out on him, that they had to save face and go, and they threw silly money at him in the end. I think we'd agreed a fee, we'd agreed wages, but Real Madrid came in and just blew us completely out of the water. And we've always maintained that we won't overpay. We have the club will have a market and a player value of what they believe a player is worth, and they will go to that, but they won't go over it. And I think that's the right way to do it, because you can be taken from mugs.
That's what
in
we
the
do
window if you start getting desperate. And I think
That's-
the way we
that's what-
look.
Sorry,
The way I was going to say, the way we handled the thing with Sadio. Sadio has 12 months left in his contract. Here's a guy who could go for nothing next summer. And he made it clear he wanted to go. He wanted to go to only Bayern. So we leveraged the best possible fee that we could for a player who, with those kind of stipulations that, I want to go to this club and this club only, do your best. But that's where I want to go. And we facilitated the move for him. We could have put our foot down and said, no, you see out the rest of your contract. It would have suited us better in the long run. But you can't also be seen, and this is where I say to a club like Leeds, with the way that they're going to be going in their transfer market, you can't be seen as a club who stops players leaving because it doesn't suit you at the time. If you look at, say, someone like Aronson, who you brought in for 20 million or whatever fee you paid for him, and he really kicks on and becomes a 55, 60, 70 million pound player, then you can't turn around in 2 years' time when a Real Madrid or a Bayern Munich or a PSG come in looking for him. No, you've got 3 years left in your contract. We want to keep you, because eventually what will happen is what happened with Southampton. The tap will be turned off on you. These players won't want to come to you anymore because you're seen as a stopper of talent. Whereas if you facilitate talent to go, you'll be an attractive club to be able to attract these type of players, to develop them, to sell them on. In the long run, you start playing in higher markets. Then you start bringing in 30 million pound players to develop and 40 million pounds to develop. And suddenly you're West Ham and you're in Europe. You know what I mean? That's how West Ham did. West Ham have done nothing special. They haven't signed any world-class, world-beating players. They've just brought in a good nucleus of a squad. And at good values, the 20 to 25 million pound mark, and just develop them and turn themselves into a side who could compete in Europe. That's not out of the reach for the vast majority of the clubs in the Premier League if you buy well. That's how I would see a lot of clubs going in the next few years. They should be looking at the likes of what West Ham did last season and saying, look, if we can get into the Europa League, there's a good chance that you can go deep in that competition if you're seen to buy right and seen to buy well. And that's not out of reach. That's not beyond the realms of possibility for the vast majority of the clubs in the Premier League, because the incomes that the clubs get in the league are really, really good. There's a lot of money if you're looking to spend well.
Yeah, it looks like Chelsea are going down that route now with their new owners. They've name checked Liverpool's process twice now, so that seems to be going.
Michael Edwards.
I'm pretty much certain Julian was password protected his laptop anyway, so it's okay. He's pretty much he's changed the bank password anyway, so John Henry doesn't know where all his money's going, so it's fine. Good to see Rico in the chat. I forgot about this. Everton are looking at signing Tarkowski, which again, I think is what Everton need.
Yeah,
they need a dominant. They need a dominant centre back because they're most.
I wonder where Nick Pope ends up though.
He's running out of options. He's running out of places to go. Maybe Leicester. Replace Schmeichel. I think Nottingham Forest got quoted 40 million from Burnley.
Yeah, but I think that's early posturing. That'll probably come. I always think once the price is named, you know where you can go down.
1 year left on his deal as well.
Gavin Bazunu's got to Southampton for
which
10 million.
Makes me worried that Kelleher's going to be knocking on the door going, I need to leave now because I
think it's possible.
Yeah, Sam Tandy and Owen News both mentioned Newcastle. Look, Newcastle probably do need an upgrade in the keeper.
Yeah, they do.
And to be fair, Pope's better than all the keepers they've got at the moment. And for Pope, that's a nice move as well. It's a the big crowd at Newcastle, big payday as well.
Pope needs a big move, because if Pope gets a move to Newcastle and does well for the first 3 months, he's then got the inside track into the England squad. For me, I think the only reason Pope doesn't get in is because he plays for Burnley. I genuinely think that's the only reason Nick Pope is nowhere near the England squad, is because he's got this Burnley tag next to him.
He did dip last year, though. To be fair, most of Burnley dipped last year. That's why they went down.
Back end of the season, though, he almost kept them up on his own, I thought.
Yeah. But I think the first 6-7 months, you were
I think Nick Pope is a really good shot stopper. He's just not very good with his feet. Well, he never will be. He just never will be. But he's an excellent shot stopper.
But I don't think either Pickford or Ramsdale are particularly great with the feet either. I think Ramsdale's okay, but Pickford's a bit of a panicking.
Ramsdale's
I honestly, I think there's a few lads on the podcast who are ex-goalkeepers, and both of them have played at a good level.
League of Ireland, wasn't it?
Yeah, Davo played in the League of Ireland, and he knows his keepers, and he's actually sat and analysed Ramsdale and the triggers that he makes, the movement that he makes. You actually watch him; he spills the ball an awful lot. He makes elaborate saves when it's not needed. He's decent with his feet. I think
his footwork is really weak, and I don't mean as in kicking, as in
I think his intelligence.
His footwork.
I've noticed that across the board with the English goalkeepers as a whole, their footwork isn't great.
That's why
that's a country issue.
Pope plays for Arsenal, Ramsdale plays for Burnley. There is not a chance Pope doesn't get in over Ramsdale.
No, he's a better keeper. He's a better keeper, full stop.
It's just the Burnley tag, I think, it works against. I don't think, listen, that's a clear weakness for England. You look at the goalkeepers that Germany are dealing with, France. Yeah. It's nowhere near. Brazil, Ederson's on the bench for Brazil. It's nowhere near. But I think you just go for shot stopper for me. I think you have to accept he's going to make mistakes with his feet. I think you just go for shot stopper who can keep you in a game.
Right, what we'll do I was going to ask Chris to bring that question up, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at the time now. We're going to talk about fixture congestion and pre-season, but we'll talk about that next week because there's loads more. So what I'll do is for the next 5 minutes,
we'll finish up on this one.
Any questions in the chat, ping a few in. We'll try and do a quick fire questions. So, Kev, quick answer. Do Newcastle get a top 6 position this season? I'm going to say, based on the current state of the squad, no.
They need to be not with the type of players that they're targeting at the moment. No, Ekitike is one who's for the future for sure.
He's going to PSG now.
Is he? Well, they were strongly linked with him. Whether he ends up at PSG, for the sake of his career, he should go to Newcastle. If he goes to PSG, he doesn't play. He just becomes another one that they have coming off the bench. I think they need to be a lot more active at a better rate, at a better quality of player if they're looking to get into the top 6. No, and to be honest, I thought they would go ham this window, but it doesn't look like they're going to.
Yeah, I actually think the it's been a bit quiet the window so far, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just waiting for that one big move, and then all the dominoes are going to fall.
Spurs have done some great business.
Yeah,
they have done some really good business.
We need to talk about Spurs next. We need to talk about Spurs next week because they have done some good business. To be fair, so we haven't got round to. Luke, Newcastle top 6?
No, not at the moment. No. Obviously, my opinion could change at the end of the window, but at the moment, no.
That's fine. Oscar?
No. At this moment in time, I think they've still got a lot of work to do. But to be fair, in January, if they had a similar summer window to what they did in January in terms of the quality and amount of signings, possibly. But I just look at the rest of the top 6, and I think, unfortunately, Man United will improve. Arsenal, I think, will probably get that centre forward in. Tottenham have already done what they've done. Chelsea, I just can't. I think it will just be that traditional top 6, to be honest. Newcastle probably the most likely to break into it, but there'll still be a big gap there for me.
I still think West Ham are probably the ones to watch to break into it.
I don't know, West Ham. They had the drop off.
Depending,
horrible drop off.
They did have a hell of a drop, but I wonder if that was more because they literally put all their eggs in the Europa League basket. Which, to be fair, I don't blame them. They were one game away from the European final, which is
the thing is with West Ham is if they can keep the players that they need to keep and add one or two.
Yeah, because the Declan Rice talk's gone very, very quiet. I mean, it's amazing what a 100 million price tag does tend to put a lot of people off, to be honest.
Yeah, what's the name of the Ukrainian?
Yarmolenko.
Oh, Yarmolenko's left.
Yeah.
He's left.
He's going. but you've got a couple of kids coming through there as well. Noble's obviously gone off the wage bill now, so they need to add a couple of players. I think Chelsea need to start getting their house in order. They've got virtually a back four that they need to be looking at bringing in, and they need to be looking at what they're going to do about Lukaku. That deal needs to get done soon. Also, they need to look at Kante. Kante can't do what he's been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. His body just won't let him do it anymore.
That's Liverpool.
But then he's brilliant. But Chelsea need to pull their finger out and start to making some intelligent signings.
And they don't want. And apparently, Ziyech and Werner, they're open to offers if people want to put an offer in for them. So there you go, Oscar. Ziyech to Leeds. Can't stay fit, but
I would ask you about Christian Pulisic.
No.
To Leeds.
No, I can't see that.
To Leeds. Oh, from Christian Pulisic to Liverpool.
I can't see. It'd have to be a loan at the full. I can't see it, to be honest, Kev. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't see that. If
you came Oscar, you'd get the injury table ready, waiting for him with his own.
Oh yeah. Don't need any more of that.
Yeah, pick your table. Go on, you get first choice. So, last question. Ava says, "Do Forest win the league and next season the Champions League, just like being back in the 80s?"
It'd be hilarious.
1977.
You never
76-77 season.
You never see stuff like that anymore, do you? It's just a random side get promoted and just go wham. It's just that part of football. I just think it ever happens, sadly. But anyway, listen, it's 11:30. I'll be honest. We normally try to stick to an hour. It's never quite worked out, has it, Kev?
No.
Luke, all that talking Luke does.
I was going to say, Luke, is there anything coming up UFC wise? What happened in the last pay-per-view?
The last pay-per-view was actually quite fun, actually. It was on paper. I know you said, Kev, it didn't look good on paper, but when a card doesn't look good on paper, it usually delivers, and it delivered. Great title fight. So unlucky for Glover. Went for the guillotine finish, when he didn't need to go with a guillotine. He even said, I think he said today, I watched that back and I just get so annoyed because he knew he shouldn't have got caught. First time he's ever lost by submission in his career, which is quite astonishing.
At 43 years of age, that's a hell of a
first fight career. And Valentina Shevchenko, lucky to keep hold of that belt. I thought she lost, and that accidental headbutt, Talia Santos might have helped her kept her belt because I think Santos had a detached retina in one eye, so couldn't see for over half the fight. So, lucky to keep hold of that belt.
Ooh.
And
Oscar,
sorry, I was going to ask you about Wei Lee fight because that was the one I saw the knockout.
Oh, great knockout. Yeah, great knockout. She'll fight for the belt. Probably end up doing a watch on for that fight. Hope it's more entertaining. I think she wins the belt again. And with the Joanna, she bows out. Obviously not the way she wanted to go, but at least she's out the game healthy and enjoy her retirement.
Yeah, cool. Oscar, thanks for having you back on. We haven't had you on for ages. We need to get you on a bit more regularly these days. So if people, they must know by now, but if they don't know, where can they find you?
Fans on All Leeds TV on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Just hit like, subscribe, follow. We're on there. We're quite regular. Just transfer content. Who's coming? Who's going? Little reactions to Marc Roca earlier on this evening have put out. Yeah, guys, check it out. You find us there.
Are you still doing the Spanish stuff as well, Oscar, or is that coming back later when the season kicks off?
Probably. I'm going on holiday next week. Maybe after I come back off holiday. If I've got time, I will bring that back. I will bring it back.
Yeah, jet setting, Oscar. Right, guys, listen. It's 11:30. Time for bed. Kev's getting grumpy now. He's going to start shouting at me soon again. I'll be getting abusive WhatsApps all night. So I think we just need to go home now. And also, I'm tired, so that doesn't help things.
Long week.
So listen, thanks very much for everyone for tuning in. Don't forget the charity Féileacáin. Details are in the description below. Please donate if you can. If you can't donate, just share it and let's try and get to this 10k. I think we're at 7.5.
7.5 now.
So
yeah, we're nearly there.
Home stretch now. Let's go for it. So Luke, thanks again. We'll see Luke next week. Kev, we'll see you next week. Oscar, we'll definitely have you back on because it's always good fun when you're on the show. Until then, guys, take care. Speak soon.